Hello and welcome to my channel, The Board Geek. This is part 2 in a web design series that I recently started. And what we're going to be going over today is how to navigate around Aptana Studio. And if you aren't familiar with what Aptana Studio is, please watch my previous video. It's in a playlist, so it's very easy to find, and it covers what Aptana Studio is, how to get it, the whole 9 yards. Okay, and also, if you haven't seen the previous video, not only are we using free and open source software to make our website, but we're using very powerful and efficient software, and I'm also teaching you how to use HTML5 and CSS3 as if you don't know anything about web design. Okay, so this is especially good for beginners. But anyways, so today we are going to be going over how to navigate around Aptana Studio, as well as I said in the previous video, what tags are. I'm going to go ahead and cover those today, as well as show you how to use them to start building some structure so we can start designing a website. Okay. And unfortunately, we're not going to get into the any of the pretty CSS stuff today, so there's not going to be any animations or anything going on, but it's just going to be the basics of a foundation. Okay. But anyways, so let's go ahead and open up Aptana and look around. And yeah, cool, whatever. Yeah, Aptana's kind of mad at me because I deleted a project I was working on earlier. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if this is the first time you've ran Aptana, you're going to have like a little in-app web browser right here, and there will be a little tab with an X, kind of like the Project Explorers. Go ahead and click on that. We're not going to need it. Okay, but what we're going to do first is we're going to go to File, hit New, and do a web project. And this little window is going to pop up, and we're just going to type in a name. So let's see here, Web Design. And finish, which by the way you can name yours whatever you want. Okay, but now that project that we just created, if we come over to the Project Explorer, it's going to be right there. Okay, there's the web design project that I just made. Alright, and so now that we have that, this is a good area to start. So you already know what the Project Explorer is. It manages the different, obviously, projects that you're working on. Then over here we have the App Explorer. We're not going to worry about this yet, but we are going to later. And the reason why is because not only am I going to be teaching you guys how to make websites with HTML5 and CSS3, but I'm also going to show you how to make apps for phones and tablets with HTML5 and CSS3 and JavaScript. Okay, but I'm not going to start doing that until we finish making a website. Okay, and the reason why is because once you learn how to make a website, making an app with HTML5 and CSS3 is going to be much easier, much faster, and it's kind of just going to end up turning into a full-on course in a sense. Alright, so then down below the Project Explorer and the App Explorer, we have an outline, samples, and snippets. Okay, now outline, once we start making a couple files and whatnot, it's going to allow us to navigate throughout our code of whatever file we're in at the present time much faster if we need to. Then snippets, if we have a project open, which we will in a minute. Snippets, if you don't know already, is essentially small sentences or half sentences of code that allow you to just copy and paste into your project so you can make something faster. Okay. And samples we're not going to worry about too much, okay? But anyways, so now that we have a project, if we go ahead and open up the project tab, all we see is connections. Well, wait a minute, I thought we just started a new file. No, that's not quite what we did. We created a new folder for our files of our project. Okay, so now that we have our web design project, let's go ahead and go, actually just going to go right here to the little new button, click on the area, or arrow, sorry, and instead of choosing one of these, we're going to go ahead and click Other. Okay, and that's going to bring us a similar list, but we're going to go ahead and open up the Web tab and click on File. Okay, The reason why is because once we hit next, we get to name our file. Okay, and first off, before we name our file name, so we can start programming, is one thing about Aptana is it doesn't exactly give you a list of different file formats that it works with or saves in. You kind of have to know, and this is one of the, I don't know if you want to call it an issue for being a more advanced IDE for developing. And I know it's not the only one that does it, but there's a few that do. Okay, but first off, if you don't know, when it comes to web design, the first thing that any web browser looks for whenever you're going to, say, Google or Facebook or MySpace, if you still go to MySpace, or Tumblr or anything like that, even though the website name is going to say Tumblr up at the top, it's actually not the title of the web page. Okay, that's just the title that the viewer sees. Okay, but the actual title of the file for your web page is actually called index. And that's the same across every website. And the reason why is because with HTML and whatnot, it's programmed to look for index. And there's no way of changing that. Okay, but another thing about Aptana, in relation to the file formats thing, we can't just click finish and say index. We actually need to put a .html. Okay, we have to actually specify the file extension. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and click finish. And now we have, over in our project explorer under web design, we now have an index folder. And also, if you noticed, it also opened up over here in the main window. Okay, so now we can start learning about tags, how to start programming, how to start making the basics of a website so we can start structuring stuff. Okay, and so really quick, just to give you a brief understanding of what tags are, is because like if you saw my previous video, I kind of threw in some garbled text, dropped down a couple lines, added some more, and then I hit the play button to go ahead and test the website. And as you can see, even though over here I wanted 2 different lines, it comes out on one. The reason why is because we're not actually communicating with the HTML language. We're just throwing in verbal diarrhea. So what tags are is, I made this a few minutes before the video, but first off, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, and whether it's HTML or HTML5, they both use tags. Okay, and these are some of the basic tags that we're going to be using today. Alright, so HTML, this is going to be kind of like the casing, I guess you could say, of everything that we type. The head is another one, P, BR, body, LI, OL, and UL. Okay, these are tags, and as we go along, I'm going to be describing to you what each of these do and how you use them. Okay, so if you're angry at me for not giving you a full-on paragraph of an explanation of why I have all of these and why they're just there, don't worry, just keep watching and I'm going to go over them with you. Okay. So back to Aptana. Another thing that you did not see in that document is at the top of every web page there is something called a doc type. And what that is it allows the web browser to know, okay, we're going to be using HTML5, or we're going to be using HTML4, or we're going to be using HTML, etc., etc. Okay, and what that is pretty simple. This is all it is right here. Actually, sorry. So, arrow, exclamation mark. Now with doc type, you have to put it in all caps. Don't ask why, I don't know, it's just what they decided to do. And then you have to put HTML afterwards and close it. Okay. And if you're watching my video in a lower resolution, which all of my videos have the resolution of 1080p, but if you're looking at a lower one, let me go ahead and just give you a bigger view for that. Okay, so that is doc type, HTML, close. Okay? That is what I just wrote. Now, anyways, back over here. Okay, so this doc type space HTML you have to have at the top of every web page, whether it's the index or your about page, contact page, whatever. And that's so that each web browser, whether it's Google Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, as horrible as it is, all of them need this doc type in order to understand what language it's being written in so that they can actually interpret it for the viewer. Okay, so now let's drop down a couple lines. I'm just going to tab in, and I'm going to add an HTML tag. So sign HTML, close. And as I close that HTML tag, you will notice that it made another one that's almost identical right after it. The only difference is that we have a forward slash at the beginning of the second one. And the reason why is because every tag, well not every, but almost every tag, when writing HTML, you have to have a closing tag. Okay? So the first one that we just wrote, the HTML, is the opening tag, and a closing tag is the same thing except it has a forward slash before HTML or P or body. Okay? And one thing that I highly recommend doing when writing HTML is with every tag, drop down a line or 2 lines and space it out a little bit. Okay, it's going to make it really easy to read your code later versus just doing this. Okay, because if you have a bunch of lines like this, it gets really ugly and really messy. So drop down a couple lines, jump back up to the middle and tab over. It's going to make it much easier to read. Okay, so the next one that we want is the head tag or header tag. Okay, so let's add that one in. And as you see again, there is our closing tag that was automatically created for us. And this is a feature of Aptana Studio. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that up, tab over, and we want to add a title. So title, close. Now title, I don't really space the ending tag down like I do with these ones. The reason why is because the title is, as I was saying earlier when we were creating our index folder, how if we have up at the top it says, like, say Facebook or Google or whatever, you know, and how it's actually titled index. Well, index is just the name of the file, but what people see when they see Facebook up here on the top of their web browser is actually the title of their screen. Okay, so I'm going to title mine The Bored Geek. So The Bored Geek. Okay, and so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and save this, just so I can show you, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit this play button so we can open it up. Alright, and if you notice, we don't have anything on our actual main window yet, but up at the top we have The Bored Geek. Okay, now if I close this and remove the title tag, save it, and open it up again, it's just going to say Mozilla Firefox, you know, and that's because there's no name for it. So let's go ahead and recreate that really quick. The Bored Geek. Save. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go down a couple lines from the closing tag for the header, and we are going to add the body tag. Okay, now the body tag, no matter what website you're on, this is where we see everything. Okay, so I'm going to type body, close, drop down a couple lines, tab over. Alright. Now, within the body tag, along with the other tags that I showed you, there's a bunch of them that allow you to do different functions, but for now we're just going to write a couple sentences. Okay, and the way that we write sentences is, one, we can either just write some verbal diarrhea, come down and write another one, write another one. Okay, let's say if we save that, open it up, well, I made 3 lines, but it's all on one line. Well, let's fix that, shall we? So, delete all of this. And the way that we actually structure our stuff to be on multiple lines or have different sizes or fonts is by creating what's called a paragraph tag or a P tag. So just P, close, and we're going to go ahead and drop down, tab over, and say, hello, this is a paragraph tag. Let's go ahead and save that, open it up, and what do you know? So now, I'm actually just going to drag this over. Okay, so now if I go ahead and say create another paragraph tag, so P, I am making a tutorial for you. Save, and then refresh. You see, now it's on a separate line. Okay, and that's because we're actually using tags, which is what web browsers understand. So now that we have that, even though it looks really boring over here, we already have a website made. Now we just need to start structuring it a little bit more, learning how to do a couple more things so that we can build the foundation, put different text and pictures in different sections of the windows and whatnot of our website so we can start making it pretty with CSS. Okay, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. However, in the next one, we're going to actually continue with this same file that we're using, and we're going to expand on it, and we're going to learn how to use a few more tags. Okay, so I hope I wasn't too boring, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So just have a little patience, and we're going to have some fun. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.